Hi, I'm Sarah Hill. I'm the CEO of Bookstr. I am here with Randi Zuckerberg. She's here to talk about her book, Missy President. And we are here to take your questions. So if you can, feel free to send in your comments, questions, share this post, have your friends put in their questions, and we will get started. First and foremost, Randi, thank you for coming today and talking to our audience.
Yeah, it's great to have my I voted sticker, so I'm very proud to have voted today, and I hope all of you who are watching have either voted or are on your way to vote. Maybe some of you live in swing states, that's awesome, especially go vote. But it really is an incredible day today, and I'm so thrilled to be supporting this wonderful country we live in, but also bringing to life a different female president with Missy, and this has been my latest labor of love, so I'm excited to talk about it today.
I love it. It's fantastic. It's very timely. I mean, come on, you can't get more timely than this.
Yes.
We'll see how the election turns out, but regardless, I like to think that a woman could be in the Oval Office.
Yes, absolutely, and I think, no matter what, definitely with all the conversation that's happening this election, I know I've felt several times, how do I talk to my own children about this election? Yeah. With so much negativity going on, there were times that, I felt like it would have been safer to put on a Bravo reality show than the presidential debates in our household.
Yeah.
And also how to talk to kids about being a good digital citizen in this election period, because we've seen so much vitriol thrown around online. We live in a world where your social media basically only shows you people who think the same as you. So for me, when I have a lot of emotions like that, I channel it into children's books. That's my thing. That's what I do. So Missy was really born out of my own personal struggles with how to talk to kids about the election and how to raise good digital citizens in a political time. And became Missy President.
So can you tell me just a little bit, I already know the story, but I actually heard it for the first time and fell in love with it. I think it's so relevant for today and for children for today to have this kind of story. It's obviously it's very trendy, and not just trendy, but it's very much in the present. It talks about current issues that children, adults, teenagers are really dealing with.
Sure, I'll give you guys the brief synopsis. So Missy is a young girl. She's 9 years old, and she gets a homework assignment. She's a 4th grader. She has to give a little speech on what she would do if she were the president. Her sister kind of secretly videotapes her practicing at home without her consent. Bratty 13-year-old sister has access to a phone and social media. And Missy wakes up on election day to find that that video has gone crazy viral and that 200 million Americans wrote in her name on their ballot for president, and she is now the leading contender. So basically picture election day where we all wake up and we've elected a 9-year-old to president.
Wow.
Which
could be a good thing.
Some people may think that, maybe wishful thinking. The book deals with a lot of these things. First of all my books have a strong female character at the heart of them, so it was very important to me, even though I have 2 sons, that Missy be a girl. I think we're in such an exciting time that no matter what happens with this election, I think the little girls have felt the hopefulness of what could be and what could lie ahead for them in their own careers. So to encourage the next generation of women to step forward in politics and leadership, but B, also to deal with this conversation of, Missy didn't set out to be president. She didn't know she was being filmed. She's 9. She doesn't even know what it means to go viral.
Right.
But now all of this technology is responsible for the situation she finds herself in. So the book is kind of based, it's modern childhood, elections, and technology all wrapped up into one.
Amazing. And so is this story about what she does after she's elected, or is this story before the election and then?
It kind of takes you through the process. So the book, we get to election day morning pretty quickly in the book, where she wakes up and finds that all these Americans have written her name into the ballot. But then it's kind of what happens from there. I mean, a 9-year-old cannot be president of this country. What happens? And I'll have you know that my team and I, we spent hours scouring the Constitution to find like what could even be some semblance of a loophole.
Oh, wow.
Because for me, the genre that I like to write in, I call it kind of magical realism.
Okay.
In some respects, this is a character that could never exist in real life. Like, we couldn't actually have a 9-year-old president, but the world that she embodies, the technology she's using, the issues she's facing, they are our lives.
Yeah.
They are everything that's happening in our lives. So once I kind of get the reader over the hurdle of, okay, a 9-year-old couldn't be president, I wanted the rest of the book to be as realistic as possible. And so we actually found like a few little loopholes that we were playing around with. And so the book, it really takes you from election day morning to her going to Washington, D.C. to petition Congress and what ends up happening there if Congress approves her or not.
How fun is that? That's great.
So I tried to get in some lessons about politics, history. They use the election, I believe, of 1824 as historic. So they did not decide it with the Electoral College or the popular vote. It was decided in the House of Representatives.
Wow.
Who would actually be president. And so we use that for precedent that Missy they all decide that she's going to go before the House of Representatives and plead her case.
That's amazing.
So it's
what a brave
kind of fun. She's very brave. She's a leader, and it really ends up at the end that it takes all the young people in America to a lot of the movements that we're seeing in this country now around Black Lives Matter, these incredibly powerful movements that are happening on social media.
Wow, that's fantastic.
About this election.
How did you, and again, if you guys have questions, please feel free to write in and put them in the comments. I'm checking my phone.
Yes, I'm talking a lot, so hopefully you guys can talk and I'll listen and respond.
We do have some questions, and then I have some after that too.
Perfect, I love it.
I have a ton of questions for you. Okay, first let's see. Did one of the current electoral candidates inspire you to write this novel?
I think, obviously, I'm with her.
Right.
Obviously, I cast my vote this morning for Hillary. I think it's so cool that my I think she ultimately decides on the pizza party.
Okay.
Is her party. So, again, I tried to keep it, there's no politics in here.
Yeah.
The book does have a few things that might go over the heads of 6 to 10-year-old readers. Like, there are a few scenes where she and her family are watching TV when it comes on.
The internet went out for a second.
Technical difficulties, but this tech world, because tech is complicated.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it could escalate a 9-year-old girl to be. Thanks for that great question. It was not based on a political candidate, but more of just a commentary. Absolutely. It could. I think what's wonderful about what's happening now is this election. We've seen children, young people in the country. Things possible for them, because we do live in a world where anything's possible, and we live in a world.
Okay, we have another question, and again, if you guys want to keep sending in questions, please do.
Oh my gosh, so many. Shel Silverstein, I think, has to be hands down one of my favorite authors. So, so many, Judy Blume. It's been really exciting. or young girls who are into leadership, technology, entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I feel like that age, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, girls are really forming their identity.
Absolutely.
It's when you look at the data, it's when young girls start to say, oh, that's a career for boys, or that's a career for girls. They become socially aware. And so that's why for me, even though I never thought about going into children's writing, I found it such an important 7, 8, 9 years old thinking that's not a career for me, you never get them back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's true. And if you go and, like, I hate to say it, but if you go and look at some of the books that are popular for kids that are around that age, at least when I was that age, there was nothing like, oh, hey, if you want to be a CEO, you can be, or hey, if you want to, go into technology, do it. It's an option for you. So
actually, when I was thinking about writing Missy, I went and looked at some of the books that were out there. I thought, okay, surely someone's thought of this idea before, Randi Girl President. And I did find several books that were about kids becoming president, but they're all boys.
Oh no.
I found a few. One about
a
dog being president, but the dog was a boy, and I was like, oh no. Kids, they can't be what you can't see, and so there needs to be a strong, spunky female character.
I love it. And how did you come up with this vision for her, the embodiment of everything that she is? How did you visually find her?
Well, first of all, I have had the most awesome team that's working with me. Natasha Lewin, who is a co-writer on the book with me, she and I have been working on writing projects together for 2 years now. I have a radio show every week, a business talk radio show on Sirius XM, and she writes with me for that. So she was a great partner in that. And then Joan, who did the illustration, is just, she's a national treasure, Joan. We talked to a lot of illustrators for this book. I had a pretty clear sense of what I wanted Missy to look like. With, I wanted her to have like her pantsuit and her top hat, and when Joan sent her vision of what Missy looked like, I was like, done. So I think it's really important for, the illustrator really brings your work to life as an author, and that's such an important collaborative relationship.
That's great. Okay, what made you decide to, you kind of answered this, but maybe a little bit more of a specific question. And again, if you guys are with us, feel free to send in questions. But what made you decide to venture into children's lit rather than another genre?
So this is my second children's book, Missy. I have another children's book called Dot, which is actually a television show now on NBC Sprout. So Dot is about the same age as Missy. Again, this is my world. Strong, spunky, go-getter female characters. Dot is a techie though. Dot is, she wears a pink frilly polka dot dress, so she's girly. Adorable. She is totally girly.
She doesn't have to dress like a man.
No, she doesn't try to be a man, but she's flying drones and building robots and 3D printing stuff and like building virtual reality games.
Oh, I love it.
So, who knows, maybe Dot will come be Missy's CTO in the White House.
Can we be friends?
Maybe. But so the question was, how did I get into children's? And I accidentally found myself in children's. I was writing a business book called Dot Complicated, which was about the incredible opportunity that tech brings to our lives and all the amazing things happening in Silicon Valley, but at the same time, my complicated feelings that women are so underrepresented at the table. So I was writing about it, and then when I started diving into the data, writing that book, I thought, oh my gosh, it is around 7, 8, 9, 10 years old that we start losing girls in technology and STEM. So if I'm writing this business book, that's too late. Like the women that are reading that have already either opted in or opted out. So I went back to my publisher, HarperCollins, and I said, all right, I want to continue doing my business book, but please also let me write a children's book. So I released Dot Complicated and Dot on the same day.
Oh my gosh.
Which was great. It was kind of like, okay, women in tech. Here's one for adults. Here's one for girls. And it was so thrilling to watch Dot be made into a TV show. But I started to think, okay, just Dot is not enough. We need hundreds of dots out there in pop culture that are showing girls role models for leadership. And so I've been thinking for a while, who's my next girl character? And it really came to me with Missy for the selection. But now that I have Dot and Missy, I have a lot of other strong girl
Yeah,
characters on my mind too.
Yeah.
So yeah, they need all their friends, and if you guys have any ideas, send them in too.
Cool. Okay, can you tell us a little bit about your writing ritual? And again, if you guys are just joining in, we have Randi Zuckerberg here. She is speaking about Missy President, her latest children's book, and she's taking your questions. So, okay, your writing ritual.
All right, the writing process.
Yeah.
So for me, I need to like hunker down and only do one project at a time.
Okay.
I know we live in a world of multitasking where it's like Facebook and text and email and do this and a million meetings, but for me, I cannot be creative if I'm multitasking.
Right.
So for me, it's usually I write late at night after my children go to bed and the house is quiet. That's my time. I do a ton of stuff. I do a lot of research there, and then I take it and I write it out from there. So for me, I think I wrote with Natasha. We went back and forth. We wrote this entire book in about 1 week.
Oh my gosh.
For 3 weeks, and just wrote for 3 weeks, and then came back and had a book. Because for me, it's like, okay, I need to super focus, just get it done, and then move on to the next thing.
There are a lot of people out there who are like, I worked on my book for 1 year or 2 years, and that is so awesome and good for them.
Yeah.
I also am from a tech background, and so the mentality out there is to like ship things quickly, and is better than perfect.
Yeah.
So instead of sitting for 2 years and waiting to release it, just get it out there.
Because really there is no perfect, especially when you come to children's books. It's
That's
like
right.
If you have that initial concept, the initial idea, and you can run with that, then what's stopping you?
Absolutely. And even now that I still have one copy that I'm like writing all over and marking it up, and I'm like, okay, when we come out with version 2, like I want to make all these changes and updates. So I think as an author, you're never done, but you just got to get yourself to the point where you're like, okay, I know it's never going to be 100%, so I got to be okay with like 88%.
Yeah, that's how it is here too with Bookstr. That's kind of how we keep iterating on our website, we keep iterating on our app.
Totally.
It's like, okay, there's never a perfect, there's never a done, but we can keep pushing the best that we can.
Yeah, exactly. And I did, there's some kind of research in my process too. So as I was writing this, I got the book in front of about a dozen 9-year-old girls. I wanted their take on it because for me, I feel like I'm a 9-year-old girl at heart. All my characters are that age, but I'm not actually a 9-year-old girl. I'm like at least 4 years older than that. But so I really wanted to get in front of that target audience. I also wanted to get it in front of a few history teachers who are teaching history to this age group, and then parents. I wanted them to read it, and because we are dealing with complicated issues in this book of a girl who finds herself with a video uploaded without her consent. And so I wanted to make sure that parents felt like, are we handling this delicately enough? Is the punishment for the sister spot on with what you would do without making a whole book that's focused on a so are we dealing with this in a way that's responsible that parents would handle in their own family?
That's a good question.
And that's always really important to me.
Yeah, the punishment for that, I mean, you could
on the story. 9-year-old. So I actually is it being used in schools or at home. It could a platform be if you were the president.
That's great. Okay.
In fact, I had a few parents who in our test group clearly thrown in there for adults who are reading it alongside the kids. So, I mean, the target age for this book really is kind of 6 to 10-year-olds. It's an easy reader chapter book. It's 10 short chapters. Typically, what I've learned from the world of publishing is that the age that your character is about the upper limit of the age because it's aspirational. So if Missy is 9, that means it's really kind of a book for 6, 7, 8-year-old girls. Perfect. And that they aspire to be her. But that being said, I think, you know, it can be really fun. It's for boys too. Yeah. There are all kinds of characters in this book. And we're already thinking about what books 2 and 3 are in this series and introducing a lot of other characters. So I hope Missy will be a long series that can be enjoyed by girls and boys of all ages.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Again, if you guys are watching from home or office or on the go, please feel free to write in your questions. Another question, it says, Randi, any new books that you read recently that you recommend?
Oh my gosh, I'm always trying to read. It's funny, I have such a diverse style of books that I'm reading. I just read a book called Hillbilly Elegy that I enjoyed. Okay. That was about a man who kind of grew up in the middle of the country, and then after he made it out, in his words, reflects back on, you know, basically why people in that region vote the way they do. That was really fascinating. I read a book, I'm a New Yorker now, so I read a book called The Primates of Park Avenue, which was amazing, about like the psychology and makeup of women who carry Birkin bags on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, which was fantastic. And then I'm always looking for awesome children's books for my sons. Again, I worked in tech for a decade. There's nothing like picking up a real physical book and reading it with your children, which is why I love being in this world of physical. So I love pictures. The crayons quit is a very popular one. So we cover the gamut in our household, and but I definitely I wish that's one of the things that I miss about not commuting anymore. I mostly work less time to listen to books on tape and to read.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, she works media or consults for Common Sense, and Common Sense is a great place to go if you're thinking, okay, is this content appropriate for my children? Does it have educational value? And she wrote a book about being an awesome digital mom and dad, which has been a great reference to me as I think about how to create these families that are dealing with tech issues. Has been an awesome book.
That's fantastic. That's great. Cool. All right, let's see. Again, we've hit the 20-minute mark, but maybe I'm going to... If you guys want to write in any questions, any last-minute questions, we'll have a few more minutes here with Randi to talk about...
I can also jump on social media and respond to any questions, too, if you want to leave them in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. So if this is over by the time you get it, feel free to continue to write questions, and Randi or I will also respond to you. Okay, so can you tell me a little bit more about, I think you said this book you decided to self-publish?
Yes, so that was a big thing. So I know a lot of you out there probably have a great book idea or 10 great book ideas in your mind, and maybe you think like, oh my gosh, the process is so daunting, I need to find an agent, and then pitch to publishers, and then it's going to be 4 years until my book comes out. So Missy is actually my 4th book that I've written. The first 3 I worked through traditional publishing houses, and I actually was lined up to do Missy through a traditional publishing house. I had an offer on the table, about to come out in early 2018. My role of magical realism is couldn't sign. A little bit on the table, maybe I won't get it. And wait for it to be old news. So I think we do live in a really incredible world where if you have a book, built a bit of a brand for yourself on social media.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think between the two, the first three that you did with a publisher and then the one that you've done yourself, what was maybe the largest comparison between the process, or is there anything?
I think, I'm glad that I've had both experiences, because I think in order to make an educated decision on should I self-publish, should I not, you kind of have to have had the experience of not doing it. I mean, the publishers that I was lucky to work with were fantastic. They definitely rushed the process as fast as they could. Even a rushed process in traditional publishing is a year and a half. That's just about the fastest they can go.
They have so many other things already queued up.
That's right. So even when I was writing Complicated, I had a lot of conversations with her where I said, by the time this book comes out, it's going to be outdated already. 18 months, but that was just the nature of the process.
That's like
and
Vine,
that's right.
If Vine was mentioned,
I probably did mention Vine, and now it's probably like a totally outdated book. But so I think you have to think of it from a different mentality. So when I was writing Complicated, I purposefully didn't mention specific sites and specific things because I understood I'm working with this publisher timeline, so I need to make a book that's a little more timeless. Whereas when you self-publish, you can make timely books like Missy President, because you control the timeline, you control everything. You have some challenges. For example, you have to be out there hustling more. The book isn't going to automatically appear in bookstores and libraries, so you have to get out there, things like
some authors are like, okay, I spent this time writing this, and then I have to go promote it, which is kind of scary because then your face is next to it.
That's right. And that's actually, a lot of people think, okay, I wrote my book, my work is done. But I think the real work starts once you've stopped writing and once you're on the road for promoting. And you have to be a little bit aggressive. Like, you have to say, okay, I want to come do this panel, but I need you to purchase a few copies of my book if I'm going to do it, or I'm going to go do a ton of signings at school and community events. So you definitely have to be willing to hit the road a little harder if you self-publish, because it's on you. But one of the other things that I noticed about when I worked through a traditional publisher, so great, they get your books into bookstores, but then what if your book doesn't sell out all its copies in the bookstore? Well, then those books get returned to the publisher, and then that gets eaten out of your commission. So on self-publishing, I know that when someone buys my book on CreateSpace or Amazon, they bought it. It's mine, and a sale is a sale, and so I know exactly what's happening. Whereas with my other books, I had this number like, yay, bookstores purchased this many, but then you don't know how many of those are going to come back and get returned, and so it's kind of a false number.
And then you don't really have creative control over, like, and this is really into the nitty-gritty, but like, where is your book in the bookstore, and where?
That's right.
Is it in the back of the bookstore?
That's right. You often don't have control over your illustrator if you work with a major publishing house. On the other hand, it might be a good thing because they might have access to better illustrators than you could work with on your own, or and so when you self-publish, you can get exactly what you want. Like, every word in this book is exactly what I wanted, not rewritten by an editor at a publishing house.
Which is a good thing, or really scary too,
or it can be really scary. Like, sure there's probably a typo somewhere in this book that I missed, even though I went over it a million times. I had, a ton of editors look at it and readers. But that's another thing. Like when you self-publish, maybe there's a typo. And but that's the other great thing is that I could do this. I could change the whole book and put it back up there, and you'd never know because I can do all that on the back end with self-publishing. So if I do, people buying it online would never know that I've swapped the new version out.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that's why it's so along.
And you're right.
So it's exciting. Whereas, if you're working with a traditional publisher that took 18 months to get it out, you're not updating the App Store at that point. Like it's done.
That's a really good way to look at it. Definitely. Well, cool. Well, Randi, is there anything else that you want to say to our audience or your audience? Missy?
Yeah, I just, I hope if you guys are listening and you maybe have a dream of writing a book on your own, or you have an idea for a strong female character, I'd love to hear it. And for anyone who has young children in your life, I think it really matters, the messages that we put out to as a parent, and making sure that girls don't see careers as or girl careers, that they don't see limitations, and that starts really young. So thank you for having me, and thank you guys for your questions.
Okay, and then they can buy the book. If you're interested in buying the book, you can buy the book on Amazon.
On Amazon or CreateSpace, and hopefully, we're working with a few other places that hopefully it'll be available soon. But for now, head to one of those two sites.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again for tuning into our Facebook Live. And Randi, thank you again. It's been great having you.
And vote. What is it?
Don't forget to
vote for Missy.
Yeah.
She's actually vote for Missy. Go vote.